You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast.
You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. My name is Shawn Wilkie, and along with my awesome co-host, we interview the innovators in this space every week. Ivan, go ahead and get us started.
Your voice is so soft today. I don't know what's happening. Well, I'm Ivan Zach, and I'm excited to introduce a colleague of mine, Dr. Eve Harrison. Dr. Eve Harrison is a seasoned full-time concierge house call veterinarian in Los Angeles. She is one of only a tiny handful of pioneers practicing true veterinary concierge medicine. Her mobile practice has been through numerous seasons and iterations of itself, including being an acupuncture only practice, a multi doctor practice with an IHE exclusive component, wellness only, and finally, a solo integrative concierge practice. Her passions are creative entrepreneurship, sustainability for veterinarians, boundaries, authentic communication, and releasing people who are not good match for our practices. I need to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
She is the founder of an online CE course, the House Call Vet Academy, and offers coaching and consulting to help veterinarians nourish not only their patients but themselves by helping them cultivate profitable and sustainable mobile practice of their own. Outside of being a vet, Eve is a semi-professional musician, I don't know, how to pronounce it, flutist. There
Yeah.
we go.
How'd it go, buddy? You did
And
it.
a
I'm so
yoga
proud of you.
teacher. Hey, there's a lot of difficult words here,
Yes,
but
flutist is
Eve,
a difficult word.
what a
for some.
pleasure. What a pleasure. Welcome to the show. You didn't mention, in your bio here, all so awesome. IHE, what does IHE stand for? I forgot.
IHE. Oh, it's in-home euthanasia.
Yeah, okay, awesome. And then also, you didn't mention you have a podcast in this bio. So you also have a podcast, right?
Yeah, I do. It's called the House Call Vet Cafe.
All right, awesome. Okay, well, let's talk about it. So the way we met, I do want to say this. The way we met is you took a shift in Galaxy Vet Foundation, which is a telemedicine service for Ukrainians that are stuck in the situation they are in the war. And then there's 200 plus professionals that volunteer to help Ukrainians to take care of their pets. So there's a telemedicine established. Anybody can volunteer, whether you're a tech or veterinarian. Donate your time. This is the most precious thing we have, and you can do 15 minutes, you can do an hour, you can do anything you want, and this helped 10,000 people actually since we started a couple months ago. We just received the stats today. There was 3,700. I know the unique people that talk to us, and we're almost getting 1,000 conversations a week. So this is so incredible. Eve, thank you so much for helping Ukrainians and volunteering in this initiative.
Yeah, you're so welcome. I've done a few shifts and I need to sign up for more, but it was clearly such meaningful work. And I mean, it just brought me to tears a few times. And I ended up
Oh.
having Galina and Andrew on my podcast as well, because, we need to spread the word about this. And also, P.S., fuck Russia. I'm so sorry for
Thank you.
your family and everyone that's dealing with this.
Yeah, no, thank you. And we appreciate United States and everybody who is helping. There's now, there's so much weapons that are helping, and there's international people that are going to fight for war. So it's been an incredible journey to see how people rally around to just eliminate the assholes from this planet.
Yeah.
But let's shift to mobile and concierge. And can you define between the two? Because sometimes it's like, you say mobile and that's offensive. You're like, I don't like to be called mobile. What is the concierge service, veterinarian, and what are the specifics of what you do?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And it's a common question too. What's the difference between mobile? What's the difference between house call practice? And what's the difference between concierge? And depending on where you are, there may be legal differences per state. Some states may say this is mobile and this is house call. In other places, it's a little bit more like colloquial language, like whatever sort of branding language you prefer to use. Mobile tends to mean a little bit more like you've got a big truck and you have like a mobile clinic. You might still be working solo, or you might be working out of a smaller van where you bring the patient onto the van. People I find, tend to sort of gravitate towards the word mobile when they are bringing the whole vehicle as the clinic. And house call, and again, while they're not mutually exclusive, or it's not a precise thing unless your state practice act defines it to be so. House call is usually you're going into the home and working with the animal, not bringing the animal onto a clinic. And then concierge service, a lot of people also use that interchangeably to mean house call service or mobile. In my definition, and kind of the most commonly held definition, it means that this is a subscription based model and the clients have you on a retainer. It's a little bit of a closer connection with the client, and you've set up your monetary structure to be able to monetize your time basically. Yeah, so it's a very specific thing, and I think it's become more and more common since last year when I started teaching people about it. Suddenly everyone's a concierge vet, and that actually makes me very happy.
So interesting. Welcome to the show, and thanks for your help with the Ukraine initiative. It's really great. It's an interesting space. There's a couple of new companies. I was researching one the other day, Kumba, hoping to have their founder on our podcast soon to kind of like automate the scheduling and kind of optimize the time. But what have you seen in your experience kind of being a mobile or a concierge vet? It sounds like you've done a bit of both from an innovation perspective. And do you see any trends emerging around, more people trying to get into this type of business and self-employment?
Very much so. That's an excellent question. I've spoken with the folks at Kumba, and they're really nice guys, and they have some interesting ideas for sure. Since COVID, basically, the house call vet space has been absolutely flooded. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in the sense that people are learning about it. Veterinarians are learning about it, and they're learning that it's a way to self-actualize. It's a very doable, approachable way to take back your life from what veterinary medicine has otherwise done to a lot of us. And listening to this show, I know that there have been struggles with burnout for you, Ivan, and that you've also tried house call practice, and that it wasn't all you hoped
Didn't
it
do
would be.
well. I didn't
I
have your
know, I
system.
know, I
So,
know. I wish we could go back in time, because I listened to some of the problems you had and I was like, oh man, we could fix that if you wanted
yeah.
to.
Well, it
But
was actually very shortly after burning out. And it was like one of those things I tried. And I was like, it was probably not a good time either for me. So,
it's got to be the right time. You're absolutely right about that. I mean, I'm a champion of entrepreneurship and veterinarians taking back their lives and taking back control and freedom. And I think it's been really beautiful to see a lot of people in my course do that. Like, I've had people say to me, like, I love being a vet again. This hasn't happened for years. And, people just like really, it's like, I love that phrase, self actualization. I've been using it on every podcast episode of my life, but I can't find a better word for it. It's people like really expressing who they are as a veterinarian, who they are as an entrepreneur. When you become an entrepreneur, all these beautiful doors open and you can take your business in any direction you want. And you have this sort of freedom, this control. And I would say, to your point about all of these other companies kind of popping up from the woodwork, it's not just veterinarians who are discovering this space. There's a lot of like techies, a lot of investors, a lot of folks who are, kind of private equity folks who would like to capitalize on this space, because everyone knows vets are really burnt out. Everyone's looking for a way out. Everyone would like to reframe these sort of freedoms and ability to control every aspect of your business as a burden, and how they can take it off your plate. There's a lot of corporate house call practices cropping up and reframing what I consider to be freedom and control to being, some benefit that they offer to people. And I don't really like that. I'm going to be pretty honest here. I very much a champion for, local vet owned business, and, vets leaning into entrepreneurship, creative entrepreneurship, and being able to live exactly the life they want. You have to be able to control your marketing to have your dream practice. You have to be able to control exactly what medical record system you're using to have the freedom you want. You have to be able to control exactly what patients you take on, exactly when you take free time. You have all of those things. While they seem like burdens, they're freedoms once you learn how to navigate that. And so that's kind of my passion there. I've actually worked with, sorry, I'm kind of going off here on the subject. It's like my big passion here. You hit the right button there. I did work with one of these kind of corporate house call companies, and it didn't go well. And, I felt my freedom being taken away by people who didn't really understand what it means to be a veterinarian, what it really means to be a house call veterinarian and provide this like really intimate connection with clients and to truly own your own business.
Well, our industry is ready for disruption. I mean, this is,
Disruption, that's
you
it.
look
That's
at,
it.
Airbnb,
Yeah.
you look
Uber.
at Uber, you look at all of these models, and then our industry is not sustainable this way. I don't know any other industry that is so high in demand. Everybody got a COVID puppy and an air fryer, I heard.
Yeah.
And
Air
and
fryer. Why did everyone get the
I
air
don't know.
fryer? I don't know.
I don't
It's
know.
so true.
Marketing.
COVID puppy and an air fryer.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's so
I
true.
work for an air fryer company. And but there's so many pets now, and there's not enough vets, and vets are leaving the profession. Like I read again today, another thing that is really sad, and person is clearly burning out. And all these clinics that are closing, all these corporates,
Oh,
like huge
oh,
corporate clinics.
yeah.
I don't want to name them,
Yeah.
but well, they do.
I know.
And and there people are believing they have universities close their ER departments because they can't have vet schools that graduate students in veterinary medicine don't have ER.
Right.
So it's just crazy. So it is a time for disruption, and I think that it's a two part. It's how do you maximize the revenue, and then how do you provide flexibility and freedom, and just like you said, the self-actualization. Because vets, and I'm going to quote my favorite Daniel Pink with the book Drive, where intellectual workers are not motivated by compensation.
Right.
That's an extrinsic motivation.
Right.
So they're happy to work when they're autonomous, when there's mastery, and when there's purpose.
Thank you.
And none of that is present in a corporate America. So
Oh.
so I think what you're doing is phenomenal. And but can you take us a little bit through that sort of and I want to hear a little bit more about concierge. That's the word is used in human medicine. I heard it a lot too, and a lot of people understand what that means because they do the same thing. There's sort of a monthly fee, and there's certain services that they can assume that they can have at no cost. And then there's also, when there's cost involved, then there's some sort of a payment. So if it's not a trade secret or a secret sauce, can you share how that works with the pet owners?
Yeah, so some of it is trade secret and secret sauce, but I'll give you as much information as I can, and thank you for respecting that, because everyone wants a piece of this. I'll tell you.
Yeah, no. Give us the leave us in curiosity.
There are not a lot of veterinary concierge practice. There's a number of vets who call themselves veterinary concierge, but they're not doing, my definition of it. There are a lot of humans who are doing concierge medicine. And I'm actually speaking at the Concierge Medicine Today conference in Atlanta in October. So I'm really excited about that. So there's a big kind of leg of this in the human area. So I'm going to talk about the human medicine because I think that keeps my secret sauce a little bit safe. But you can either, charge a monthly fee or an annual fee. And you have the freedom basically to make your fee cover whatever you want. In general, because this is an innovative thing and a novel thing in the vet space, you can make up whatever you want. There's a handful of other concierge vets out there that I know about, and I've heard some of them say I make it up as I go. I would say there's some component of that to what I've done, but I've also done a lot of research, a lot of reading, and a lot of getting advice from professionals on how to do this. And so there is this sort of freedom underlying kind of the structure of being concierge vet. And it's freedom of, the lifestyle that you want to have. It's the freedom of your business structure and your payment structure and, the value of your time, your boundaries. And it's not quite the same as a wellness plan. A lot of people ask, how's this different from a wellness plan? Been there, done that. It's like, yes, there are components, but the fact of being a concierge vet is that your whole practice is based on the sort of subscription model, and that subscription model is necessary for your clients to have any access to you at all. That's the gatekeeper, the concierge fee, whether it's monthly or annual.
Yeah, Eve, it's really interesting. And, it's, we're the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. So when people sometimes hear a guest like you come on, they're like, what's the innovation component? I mean, this is so innovative. It's really quite incredible what you've established. My question is, how did you get here? And it's a two-part question. Where are you going? What's the big, bold vision? Do you have one, or are you happy right where you're at?
Oh man, that's a great question. I how did I get okay, let's see. How did I get here? So my story is very similar to Ivan's. I got very burnt out. I actually thought I was going to be a surgeon, a board certified surgeon, and I did an internship and a surgical residency, and I burnt out so bad that for a minute kind of left the profession to become a yoga teacher and to explore my music a little bit more. And, so like I definitely have been off the beaten path since the very beginning. And it was because of pain. It was the way the industry hurt me, not only the residency, but vet school itself, kind of the whole paradigm of how we're taught and how we're come out of the gate doubting ourselves in this intense imposter syndrome. I'm not the only one that I'm not special at all. I'm just one of a million other vets who experience this. And to me, I got hurt so badly that I was like immediately had to go look for some other way to handle things. And I've always thought of myself as a creative person, and so I think it was kind of inevitable that my creativity, my creative side, artistic side, combined with being a vet and the pain that I'd experienced and being hurt the way I've been, would lead me down the path to becoming an entrepreneur so that I could really take everything I learned and everything that was working and make it into something bigger and something more, kind of beneficial for everyone, not just myself. So that's kind of where I've been. Hopefully that makes sense. The story's a lot longer, but we got not a long form podcast here, so I won't go into all the details. And then where am I going? I am so passionate about teaching other veterinarians the power that they have, the ability to take their lives back. You don't need a corporate house call company. You don't need someone to own you. You don't need a middleman. You don't need someone to tell you what you're worth. You don't need someone to schedule your appointments or select your clients for you. You need to be doing that yourself so that you can have the life you want. Those aren't burdens. They are if you're not, taking the bull by the horns and using, all of the techniques and the strategy that we have available to us. They can be that way, but it doesn't have to be. And so my very strong passion is helping people to understand that with just a little bit of guidance, you too can have an amazing and fulfilling and freeing and self-actualizing house call practice that's profitable, sustainable, and then kind of provides the keys to the kingdom of what it means to be a vet or what it can mean to be a vet. So my House Call Vet Academy and my podcast and the House Call Vet conference that I have are all kind of where I'm putting my energy right now and my passion and all of my love and everything I've been through kind of goes right into those things right now. So that's kind of the future.
That is so cool. Thanks for that answer.
Thank you.
No, it's so cool. And the what's interesting is, we've seen so many entrepreneurs on this show, and the interesting thing is that almost everybody who is entrepreneurial and has these big dreams and doing things, they all went through a very similar story like yours, like mine, that we all had some shit happen to us, and then we had to pull us up from it, and then we came out on the other side happier than we were before. It's so interesting. We've talked about it a couple of times. There's a cool conversation with Courtney, Dr. Courtney Surgeon from Santa Barbara, and he's kind of not too far from you there in LA, and he's like, it's the same thing. Is there's something needs to happen for people to see it better on the other side, and then finding joy in something new. But I think that another component, as I'm listening to you, is that when we go through some shit in the past, the risk tolerance is very, very high. Like, we can risk so many things, and then as an entrepreneur, I mean, what I'm building right now, I'm on a very thin ice right now. Like, the funding is coming right at the right time. Like, it's all very, very sort of scary, and how it will happen and what's next. And it's just, my tolerance to this is really, really high. So it's so cool to see how we come out on the other side and then find joy in something else. And I, after residency, pivoting and doing what you like to do, that's so awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We blew through the time, as we usually do. And there's two questions we usually ask at the end. One of them is there a TED talk? Is there YouTube video? Is there a movie, book that you read that you would recommend to our listeners?
Sure. I'm a huge reader, so I love this question. I constantly have like 10 books on my shelf that I'm like, oh God, can I just take a break, like a vacation, so I can get through all these books? But I would say I have two books that I absolutely love. One that I read before I was a vet and has continued to influence me, and then one that I read very recently that just resonated with everything I hold to be true. So the first book is called The Creative Habit by Twyla Tharp. I read it when I was trying to be a musician, which I guess I still am somewhat, but that spoke to my artistic side and has continued to inform my entrepreneurial side. Amazing book. You would be surprised like what you can learn from a dancer. Twyla Tharp is a professional dancer. And then the book that I've read most recently, that I just finished reading is called Fuck Happiness: How Women Are Ditching the Cult of Positivity and Choosing Radical Joy by Ariel Gore. So it is like a little bit of like an acknowledgement that in the sort of personal development world and even the entrepreneurial world, there's this sort of toxic positivity and this sort of accepting the status quo through gratitude when it's like, actually, that's important. As a yoga teacher, of course, I love gratitude. I love personal development. I love spiritual development and responsibility for yourself and growth mindset, all of that stuff. However, I think there's a time when those things can become toxic and keep us stuck where we are. And often we're getting that message directly from corporate.
That's interesting. Yeah. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Right.
Well, last question. Another innovator that you think we should have on the podcast?
I have two of those as well.
Entrepreneurs can never follow the instructions.
Yeah, outside the box is our MO, isn't it? Not to follow the rules. So I have two wonderful people who are both friends and entrepreneurs and making a huge difference in the veterinary wellness space. So the first one is Nia Perkins. She runs My Vetamorphosis. She is a veterinary career transitions life coach, and I'm working with her personally. We started our businesses around the same time, and we've really influenced each other quite a bit, and I decided to hire her, and she's been coaching me, and she's been wonderful. And then the other person that I also adore is Stacy Cordovano, who has the Whole Veterinarian podcast and is also a huge champion for wellness in the veterinary space, boundaries, especially for equine practitioners.
Thank you so much for listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. If you want to hear about our new episodes, please follow us on any social media channel. Also, you can check out our website at veterinarynnovationpodcast.com. See you next week.